Professor Susanna Heschel, daughter of the late Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, made a profound observation about anti-Zionism and what we've seen in the past 50 months that really shed light on so much of what we have seen on campuses and on the streets. You see the people that are chanting from the river to the sea, Intifada, and other insane and violent statements. You see the people tearing down hostage posters, and you ask yourself, what are they thinking? What is their vision? Why don't they believe at least in a two-state solution? What is it that they are envisioning as a future for Israel and Palestinians to coexist? And she said, what if cruelty is the point to begin with? Meaning, when you see people tearing down a poster of a hostage, you're thinking, okay, what's the perspective? When you see them chanting and frightening Jewish students on campus, you're saying, do they really justify the means when they're bringing up anti-Semitism like this? No, the bottom line is cruelty is the goal. Cruelty is the goal. When on October 7th, you had a professor in Cornell University and you had a professor at Yale University, Professor Zarina Grewal, celebrating, she said her heart is in her throat. What was she thinking? Maybe it was just cruelty. You know, throughout the centuries, human beings have unfortunately shown an extraordinary ability to be cruel. Whether it's the people coming out to the town square in the Middle Ages to watch someone being tortured or stoned, whether it's people cheering on the Spanish Inquisition, people have been cruel. We've seen that in World War II. We've seen that in many, many places in the world. To this day, there are people who do extraordinarily cruel things. Thank God there are parts of the world where we know better, and we assume that those parts of the world are places where a Western education exists, but it doesn't mean that humans have uprooted cruelty from their hearts. And so when you see these professors cheering on what we saw on October 7th, when you see people tearing down posters of hostages, when you see the chants that are meant to intimidate, that are meant to cause fear, that are meant to bully, whether it's all the bullhorns and the drums on campus or on the streets of New York and Toronto and Montreal, those are meant to be cruel. They are meant to be things that inflict pain on others. When you see what happened yesterday in Toronto, where someone, a pro-Palestinian protester, if you call him that, takes out a doll of a baby and mocks the horrible fate of the Bibas children and Hamas taking their lives with their bare hands, that's cruelty. And so don't rule that out. Don't rule out that what our enemies are doing is just cruelty for the sake of cruelty. I say this to myself and to my fellow Jews. Stop assuming the best about our enemies. Stop assuming that it must be that they believe that if just Palestinians achieved liberation, if just. No, a lot of these people are just pure, cruel, sadistic sociopaths or just humans that have practiced cruelty for centuries. It doesn't mean we should be like them. It doesn't mean we should choose their ways. Heaven forbid if that happens. We should never ever do that. But remember, when you sort of torture yourself trying to understand what's going through their mind, make sure you understand that it's very possible they're just being cruel for the sake of being cruel. And it's that needs to be called out, because the same universities that espouse humanity and kindness need to understand that they're also a home and a place, a host to cruelty, to sadistic anti-Semites. And you got to call it out, and you can't let it be public, and you need to make sure that they're outed and that the world knows that we will not tolerate people speaking, dehumanizing us and speaking about us this way and denying Israel's right to exist, or our right, Jewish people's right to exist as a people.